So, first thing we need to review. Where did my eraser go?
Oh, the Grinch hated it.
Oh, no, I moved it over here. No, the Grinch stole my lesson plan.
Oh, shit.
Are you serious?
That's the shirt that I got from Miss Cross and a sweater myself. You just wait till we all wear it.
I don't like it. Are y'all gonna wear it?
Wait, you guys gonna wear
I don't know what day, because mine hasn't come yet. Okay. So.
Yeah.
All right, so use the Pythagorean theorem. First off, what do I need in order to use the Pythagorean theorem?
to know what it is?
To know what it is. So what is it?
A and B.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Where C is your, what do they call that side? Hypotenuse. It's your hypotenuse. Okay. What triangles can I use the Pythagorean theorem on?
Right triangles.
Right triangles only. Okay. If I do not have a right angle, Pythagorean theorem no longer works. Okay. So I need to solve this using the Pythagorean theorem. So if you look at number 1, which one of these is my hypotenuse? X. Your hypotenuse is always directly across from that right angle. So this is my C, one of these is my A, and one of these is my B. It doesn't matter which. Okay, so if you need to label your triangles so you remember what goes where, please do so. So when I plug this into the formula, this becomes 5 squared plus 7 squared equals, well, that should technically be X. So let's do X squared. So now I need to solve. 5 squared is what, Quentin?
It already started coming out at before you said it.
I know. I got so many Quentins in here today, though.
Do 7 squared.
Okay. 5 squared is 25. Victor, what's 7 squared?
49.
49. Equals X squared. What do I get when I simplify the left-hand side, Shelby? 74.
So 74.
I did. That's what I'm good for. How do I get X by itself now? Just square root. Oh. Y'all jumped on it. Square root. So X is going to equal and round to the nearest tenth. 8.6. You need a nap.
I'm so tired. I went to sleep early last night.
Yeah, I went.
I was talking about like 11:30.
When we truly need nap time in high school.
Yeah.
Seriously, they really don't. They're
We were
so
like,
random.
I did. You were like 3 years old.
I mean, I went to sleep like
5.
early.
Okay. Take a look at number 2. Which one's my hypotenuse? 12. So again, if you need to label them, that's fine. Again, either one of your legs could be A and the other one can be B. It doesn't matter which one you label as what. Okay, so this one becomes X squared plus 4.5 squared equals 12 squared. Lydia, what's 4.5 squared? Since all these cap
20.05.
20.05. 20.25. Woo! I think we need to take a 1-minute break for everybody to get up and get their calculators.
which one's 44?
22?
Thank you.
11 is gone.
I got it.
Are there none on the table over there?
It's like on the shelf.
Get up in the cupboard on the top shelf.
I just have it like back there.
It's in mine.
I'm trying to grab my calculator, bro. Bro, it's on the shelf. It's on the shelf. 25.
We have a whiteout situation. Hey,
There's the
so Shania already told us when I square 12, I should get 144. So what's wrong? That's fine. I'm gonna do the same stuff then. You don't have a whiteout situation. Okay, so in order to solve this one now, I have to do what? I have to subtract. I've got to move that 20.25 to the other side. So I get x squared equals 123.75.
I think so.
Take the square root of both sides. What does x equal here? And I've got to move to the top because I ran out of room. 11.1. Okay. I want you to take a couple minutes, do 3 and 4 now on your own. The hypotenuse is always across from the right or the right angle. So sometimes you're solving for it, sometimes you're solving for a leg. So that's the difference between adding the two. So here we were solving for the hypotenuse, so we had to add the two numbers together when we squared. Here we're solving for a leg, so we had to subtract.
Wait, what? Wait, I know. Try to say that quick.
Huh? No, we're in the middle of something. You better run. Take the pass.
This is kind of Thursday.
Yep.
I want to make sure I got it right.
Yep.
When I was younger, when I did something like this, I'd take the number that was here and round it to the one next to it and keep going until I reached the thing.
Hey, the next one's
The next one's easy.
yeah, number 3 is easy.
Good.
Oh, easy.
No, but number 3 was like really easy. You didn't have a decimal or nothing.
I got you.
Right.
I got you, friend.
I already got it. Yeah, it was.
It was just 26, right?
Yeah. That's what I got.
Okay, half the buttons on this calculator.
4 is easy too. According
4
to
is
those
easy too?
standards. I believe so. Yeah.
According to what?
Huh?
According to what?
According to like the
The
like you were
decimal
saying, it
thing?
was easy because there wasn't a decimal.
Okay, yeah, that's
Huh?
On number 5, you get a decimal, but you don't put it down because it doesn't.
Are you trying to just go ahead and give me the answer? Or
Forget you gotta do it. You got this. It'll be okay.
Yeah, you can use whatever one's in there. You got it? Number 3 and 4.
Just change the batteries on my computer
Justin, pick your head up and take that hood off your head. Justin, pick your head up, please, and make the hood Because I was going to talk everybody through that one because it was a word problem.
You should have waited.
I mean, you can try it. I was going to wait and do it together, but that's fine.
Okay, I think I It's like, it feels like a scissors, like the bolts about to come out or something.
Yeah. Did it work with the new ones?
Yeah.
I like I did this one. I thought I did this one. Okay, not like this, I wanted to try
I am going to wait and go over it, and then you can figure out if you did it right or not. I don't have an answer up here right now. We haven't done it. I don't keep an answer key on my notes, no. Because I know how to do it. But I don't have all the numbers memorized in my head. I wait till you guys do calculations.
Okay, you do like 51 squared minus 50 squared, right? And then you square that, or you square that? Right?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Alright, cool, so that's the right answer.
All right.
Not really.
So if we take a look at number 3, what am I solving for? A leg or the hypotenuse? We're solving for the hypotenuse. So here you should have had 24 squared plus 10 squared equals c squared or x squared, whatever. Okay. What do you get when you square 24? 576. What do you get when you square 10? Add them together, you get 676. And when I take the square root, 26. Okay, number 4. What am I solving for? One of the legs. Okay, so this time I should have had x squared plus 40 squared equals 50 squared.
Quick question. Does that have to be exactly x squared plus 4 squared, or it can be 4 squared plus x squared?
It doesn't matter either way. Because either way, it's a leg squared plus a leg squared. So it doesn't matter which leg you did first. Okay, good question. 1600. 2500. So this time I have to subtract. So x squared should equal 900. Take the square root and x equals 30. Okay. This is actually a special right triangle. Okay. This is actually a 3, 4, 5 special right triangle. So anytime you have a triangle that has legs of 3 and 4, the hypotenuse is automatically 5. So here I've got a leg that's 40 and a hypotenuse that's 50. That automatically makes this 30. Because I could divide each one of these by what? All 3 of these are divisible by what? 10. If I cut these all by 10, that's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And that is a special right triangle.
Why?
It's just one of those, it always works no matter what.
That's crazy.
All right, last one. Okay. When they give you a word problem, my suggestion to you is to draw a picture. So we've got a 51-foot ladder that's leaning up against a building. So I need a building. Here's my building. It's a nice building, isn't it? It's pretty. Okay, so there's my building, and I've got this ladder that leans up against it. Okay, there's my ladder. So it says I have a 51-foot ladder. So that means this is 51 feet. It leans up against the building. The top of the ladder reaches the wall at a height of 50 feet. So this is 50 feet. Yes.
Oh, wait, never mind. Oh, I had a dumb question.
Okay. They want to know how far is the bottom of the ladder from the building. So they want to know this.
See, we got one of these tests and I didn't get it, and I guessed and I got it right.
Okay. Well, if it's the building and the ground, it makes a what angle?
Right.
It makes a right angle.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I have a right triangle here.
Whoa.
So here we do x squared plus 50 squared equals 51 squared.
See, but I didn't know about that. I totally forgot about that yesterday.
So 50 squared should come out to be 2,500. What's 51 squared? 26 what? 01. Okay. Subtract your 2,500. So x squared equals 101. So x equals 10. They want us to the nearest tenth, so 10.0 feet.
If that was on like a final or something, we wouldn't have to put a 0, would we?
If it's on the final, it's going to be multiple choice, so whatever answer choices they give you.
Wait, would you round it up then? Because it's like 05 right now.
It's 10.04.
Oh, yeah.
So 4 does not round to 0.
I wrote it as.
What if they have both of the extra choices? Which one do we choose?
It depends on what they tell you to round to. You've got to be careful. This one says round to the 10th, so that's one place after the decimal. If they want 2 places after the decimal and tell you 100th, then it would be 10.05. Yes.
If it said round to the thousandth place and say it was like 10.049, would you be able to?
Okay, so
Okay.
I totally get where you're going with this. So it's 10.049. What comes after that?
I don't know.
Let's say it's a 7. All right. Let's say this is your answer. Okay. They want you to round to the thousandths place. So how many spots past the decimal is that? 3. So I want this number to be my cutoff. So what does the 7 do to the 9? It rounds it up. So this becomes 0, and that actually rounds this up. So your answer would have been this.
I remember getting taught that, bro.
You've got to be careful with where they want you to round it to, okay, and what numbers you have available. Okay.
So we only like mess with the number that's one away from the top.
Yep. Yep. All right. So if you take a look at this one, Mo's already figured out this. Number 2. Whoa, man, that triangle looks awfully familiar. Oh, wow, that's number 2 that we just did. So forget show your work because we've already shown it. It says now, explain in words how you completed the following problem.
I did the math.
I did the math was not going. If you had to teach someone this problem, how would you explain that in words? Okay, so we use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay. Assume that they know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but they don't know where the a, b, and c should go. Okay. Let's say that they know that the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but they have no idea where a goes, where b goes, or where c goes.
I literally just said I know it right.
Well, that was some bullshit.
Jeremiah, be quiet.
Oh.
Oh my God.
She gonna rewatch this video later.
Was that just some kid?
There was Mormon.
Don't make me hurt you.
Wow. Did you almost get another one?
Somebody did it fourth grade yesterday. I'm really just done with it.
It's
not fun. So, use the Pythagorean theorem. What would you then tell them? They don't know where A, B, or C goes. C is your hypotenuse. C equals the hypotenuse, which means that that value is what? Which value is your hypotenuse? 12. C is your hypotenuse, which is 12. What can you tell them about the legs? Which one's A, which one's B? It doesn't matter. So something like either leg can be A or B. Because we're looking for the explanation of them now. Okay, so either leg could be A or B. So let's let A equal what? 4.5 and B equal X. Okay. So now that I know what A is, what B is, what C is, what do they do with it? Plug them in, set it up. Plug in your values. Once they've plugged them in, what do they then have to do with the values? Oh, not yet.
Square root.
Square them. Square your terms. Then we do what, Kinsey? Then we subtract. And my last step then to get my answer, square root both sides. Awesome.
If you ever think back to the days where you were learning this stuff, I bet you were like, oh man, this is hard. And then now you teach it.
You said it's so country.
Which is no offense why I enjoy teaching it, because I know what I've struggled with, and I've now come up with tips and tricks to help those that struggle like I did.
So that's cool.
Wow, not all heroes wear capes, John.
That's right, not all heroes wear a cape. Some of them wear leggings and long shirts.
Yes.
Yeah, sure it was.
All right. When they give you a word problem, what's the first thing I told you to do when they give you a word problem? Draw a picture. Draw a picture. Once they draw the picture, they would then what? Label the sides.
So I can draw any picture.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta
I don't think
Yes. Draw a clown face.
Okay.
We have to explain that to her.
Draw a picture. Label your sides.
But you never know who you're gonna teach this to. So you gotta be very specific.
Yeah, you might have to.
Okay, Rebecca, we're going to assume that we've just walked through number 2 with them, so we can make this one a little bit more basic. Okay. So, draw a picture, label your sides. Then what? So right now I've got this picture. Okay? I've got that this is 50, this is 51, and this is X. Now what? Plug in to equation. So that means now we're at this step. Now what? Square your terms. So now we're at this step. Subtract. So now I'm at this step. And finally, we square root. So now you can talk anybody through a problem that you want. You just pulled everything you just did, and you should be able to teach this. Questions? All right. Just because y'all struggle with word problems, I'm going to let you do these 3 on your own. Oh, Miss Smith.
Can you do the first one with this?
All right. I'll do the first one. All right. So, Romeo and Juliet need the Pythagorean theorem. Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Listen, I can't tell you the last time I read Romeo and Juliet, so that's about all you're getting out of me. Okay, so Romeo needs to see his love, Juliet. Juliet, the only open window is on the 2nd floor, which is 25 feet above the ground. Romeo will need to borrow a ladder from one of Juliet's neighbors. There is a bush along the edge of her house, so that Romeo will have to place the ladder 10 feet from the house. What length of ladder will Romeo need to reach the window? So,
35.
again, first thing when it's a word problem, what should we do? Draw a picture. So, we've got this window. You know me, I'm not an artist. Okay. There's the window. We'll put Juliet up here. Here you go. Here's Juliet. Give her some hair. Give her some hair. She's not bald, Juliet. Okay. Romeo's gone and he's stolen this ladder and leaned it up to the window. So here's your ladder.
No, he borrowed it.
All right. He borrowed. You're right. You're right. Okay.
No,
Listen. There's this bush at the bottom of the building. So that means that the ladder has to be so far out. I guess I should make the ladder reach the ground, huh? That might be helping. The ladder doesn't float in the air. So now I need to figure out, where do these numbers go? I need to label my picture. So where is 25 going?
The window.
That's your window. That's how tall your window is, 25 feet. Okay, so we've got 25 feet. They also tell us 10 feet.
Wow, that's the bottom.
That's the bottom. Good. So what am I actually finding then? Hypotenuse. So I'm trying to find the hypotenuse. What does my equation look like, Justin? If I'm trying to find your hypotenuse, when I plug this in, what does my equation look like? Fantastic. 25 squared plus 10 squared. You can use x. If you wanted to use c, that's fine, because you're so used to a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Doesn't matter what variable you use. Okay. When I complete my next step, Jeremiah, what does my next line look like when I complete my next step? Give me the next line. What's it look like? You said what?
725 equals x squared.
You went one step. You went one step ahead of me. You're fine. Okay, you went one step ahead of me, but I'm trying to get all steps in here. Okay. So 625 plus 100 equals x squared. So then Jeremiah already did that last step for us and added the two together. So 725. So now what? Square root it. 26.9. 26.9 what? Because we're in word problems. Feet. No, I was looking for feet. So your ladder has to be at least 26.9 feet long to reach that window. Okay, that is a big ladder.
Is nobody going to talk about the 50-foot ladder? We're just talking about it. I mean, like,
Brandon's like, we were just talking about a 50-foot ladder. What do you mean something?
and then next we're talking about a 75-foot. Like, and 26 is big.
All right. So now that we did that one, you know how, Juliet's mom and dad just don't like it. So the calculates are not happy. So let's see if you can figure out. Yes.
In the month.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know.
Yeah, Montague. Yeah.
Montague, something.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, so
Yeah.
take a look at the second one and the third one. All on your own right now. We're gonna do think, pair, share. So I want y'all to just think on this for a minute. Try these ones, and then we can pair you up. See where you go with it. Then we're gonna break into some 45, 45, 90. Woo, woo.
Is that just like the angles? Like, is that all that is? So it's gonna be like big and small. So it shouldn't be too hard, should it?
No, it shouldn't.
I hope that's.
It's just a matter of remembering your rules for the special right triangles. Because you've got two of them. Tomorrow we'll talk about the 30, 60, 90.
What is that?
Let's see.
The one we talked about today, the 3, 4, 5.
No, the other, the like weird name. It had like a name. Like it wasn't numbers, it was like words.
I don't know. I don't remember what I said now.
We weren't gonna do it today, we were gonna do it like a couple days.
Couple of days? Application problems? Yes. So then which one's your hypotenuse there? Where's your right angle? So then which one's your hypotenuse? You got it, girl.
This way.
Good. Good. So now which one of those is your hypotenuse? Mm-hmm. So now plug it into your equation. Just looking good. So this one you're plugging in this and this for A and B. That's your C. You have to see if it's true or not. So you're trying to prove, yes, he can get to them, or no, he cannot. So the bottom one's a little bit different. You're still using the Pythagorean theorem, but you're trying to tell me, does it work or does it not work? Can Romeo make it there? Because the Capulets has decided to chop the ladder and build this moat around the castle. Can he still make it to Juliet? Careful, your 75 foot is your what? It's your ladder. So where does 75 foot? Ah, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Why is that not?
I forgot.
What do you mean? What? For the second one?
Miss Smith.
It ain't the same if they're not asking.
Wait a minute.
Good.
Yeah.
That looks great. Good. Keep going. It looks great. See, don't question yourself too much. Don't be loud if it's not right. What? But it is.
That's why.
What, the last one? You're still using the Pythagorean theorem. Oh, she needs to wait up. Why'd you mess up on? Oh, you put it in the wrong spot. All right. Can't.
I was hoping that was
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like everybody's B looks pretty good. I want you to get together and talk about C, or the last one. I want you to get together and talk about that last one.
I don't know if
You get up and move.
Guys, over here. There's a seat right next to me.
That looks fantastic.
And I never have a seat
If you're
next to
careful,
me.
I'm gonna love this thing.
That's what they say.
yeah.
You're the lazy one because you never get it. I'm always the one that gets up to go over there.
Oh, you're making Makai get out of the seat.
Yeah, isn't that just
Because you're
terrible?
right. You're a horrible person.
Yeah, because I got.
I'm so terrible.
Make Makai get up.
I did. I drove.
That's really bad, dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because the bitches help me.
I got so.
If you live in this building. The third one doesn't.
Yeah.
That's what I just had to try.
Because you just had to plug it in.
Yeah, I had to do
You just had to plug it in and we had to.
I've already done it. And it's right. Because I asked her. She said she's smart, so she said I'm smart.
She said that she's smart, so she
Yes.
She said that you're smart.
I did not say that.
I know it was true.
But people tell me I'm smart. I get that.
Because you are smart.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm not.
I'm done arguing with you.
Exactly.
I'm done arguing with you.
Because I'm not smart.
You are smart.
Oh. No, she's not arguing.
Brandon, you're smart. You're lazy and you don't like to do homework.
You're smart, then you're lazy.
Shut up, nah, you're smart. You're smart. I'm not.
I bet.
That's me. What's the answer?
No, I'm not.
What's the first?
Wait.
I want you guys to try to talk about this on your own. We'll talk about it when I go over it.
So they went all up and did a whole.
Yes, they went all out and dug a hole.
Why they just send somebody out?
Right. But it's just by no.
Dogs didn't exist. They were like wolves.
Can you just imagine if you went home and your parents dug this big old moat around your house so no girls could come and visit you? They had to like swim through a moat with alligators in it going, nom, nom, nom.
Did I hold this right?
Yeah. Hey, let's
Nom, nom, nom. No girls for Makai. Nom, nom, nom.
I don't get those. They ain't keeping out nobody.
They ain't keeping out nobody.
Nobody.
Hey,
Would you draw half the ladder?
That's how you pass up with it.
what are you about to say? What are you about to say?
I don't have any ugly Christmas sweaters either.
Is there actually?
Just get a sweater and put some ugly Christmas decorations on it.
That's not the dollar.
There you go.
Wait, what's that?
Oh, yeah. There's always Amazon Prime. Yes.
Is there an actual?
Yes.
Is there really?
Yes. It's the last week before Christmas.
Look, Vincent, I will pay you like crazy.
I put it up on the board.
I will pay you $300 to let him.
Winter icon, so you can dress up like your favorite Christmas character.
Oh, God. Come here.
Now listen, rules, no jeans, no pajamas, which means don't come dressed as the Polar Express.
That's literally everyone's favorite.
That's almost it.
Oh no, that's what my senior said yesterday. I'm coming in pajamas like the Polar Express. I said, no, you won't. No
I have
pajamas.
a onesie.
Listen.
Jeremiah, you sound like type of sleeping
It's not
socks.
that administration doesn't want you to be in pajamas. It's they're not sanitary to wear to school.
Huh? That doesn't make no sense to sleep in it.
Whoever made it up.
Exactly.
But it's gonna be clean.
And you sweat so much, you know.
Right.
We're bringing the same germs that
It's
we
not gonna happen.
There's nobody like keeping pajamas.
Blizzard Day's gonna be white out because we play North that day. So you're supposed to wear white.
Wait,
All
wait.
What?
Tuesday's Blizzard Day, it's white out.
It's a white bed.
All right, let's finish this first and then we can talk about that. Come on. Back to your seats. Jeremiah. Back to your seats. We need to finish this first before we start talking about this stuff. Come on. Back to your seats. No, we're not talking.
It's just.
Pick it up and send it back again.
What if there's alligators in the moat that are gonna eat them? Oh my gosh.
Miss-
All right. So
Be quiet.
okay, we ready? All right. So now we still have that same picture. Here's the building. Here's your ladder. And now go, because they give us 45 at the bottom. Where does 65 go? That's your ladder. They chopped 10 feet off your ladder. Where does 60 go? Wall.
Wouldn't our neighbor be mad though?
Well, yeah, because he borrowed the neighbor's ladder.
Why didn't they just take the whole ladder?
That might start a feud.
Why don't they just burn it?
All right. So now we need to see, does this work? So you're still using the Pythagorean theorem. So when I set this up, what does it look like, Kevin? He says, huh?
45 squared plus 60 squared equals 65 squared.
Fantastic. 45 squared plus 60 squared equals 65 squared. When I square everything, what should my next line look like? Allison.
Did I do it?
Did you not write?
She didn't do it right. 20,025. And then 3,600.
Good.
5,600. 4,000.
Rebecca jumped in and helped you out there.
Wait a minute.
No, that's not what it is.
It's
4,225.
Oh, you're killing me.
It's those two together equal.
Oh, okay. I see where you went. Okay. All right. So what was the 65 squared then?
4,225.
Not the right one we were looking for.
All right. So do these two numbers equal? No.
That's why he killed himself.
So can Romeo reach Juliet? I mentioned I had to go on morbid. That's why I killed himself. So no.
She killed, well, yeah, technically she killed herself first and then.
She faked it.
Yeah,
She faked it.
Then she faked it.
Why would she
She
face
faked
it?
it.
She faked it and he thought she was dead. And
But she was dead for like 2 hours or something. 48 hours. She was dead for 48 hours.
all right.
How do you call it?
All right. Holy cow. The argument's over Romeo and Juliet. All right. Give me a second. We've got to get through this. All right. Woo! I went the wrong way. All right. So this is our last one. Chatty Cathy's today. Okay. This is our last one. We need to fold this first. Okay. Actually, let's just solve it first and then we'll fold. All right. So let's look at this.
She was tired of it. She didn't bring her computer.
She did bring her computer.
No, she didn't.
She was back there typing.
No, out.
Oh, she's coming.
I'm confused. Right, how do we
Okay, so hold on. Let's not fold it yet. Let's do this first. All right. So these are special right triangles. 45, 45, 90. So here's my question. If I've got a 45, because we got to fill this in as 45, 45, 45, 90 talks about the measures of the angles. If these are 45, 45, 90 angles, what kind of triangles are these? They're right triangles.
Is it like the 3, 4, 5?
Isosceles. These are isosceles triangles because these two angles. Stop talking. Because these are 45 degree angles and they're the same, that means that the sides are the same. So these are actually isosceles triangles. So that means if this side of my triangle is x, what's the other side? X. Okay, now tell me this. If my legs are x, should my hypotenuse be bigger than that or smaller than that? Bigger. Your hypotenuse is always your bigger. So in a 45-90 triangle, the hypotenuse is actually the square root of 2 bigger than the other sides. So to get your hypotenuse, you would multiply your side by the square root of 2. That's it.
That's late.
And you would leave it in those terms unless they want you as a decimal. Okay, so flip it over and find example 1. All right.
Can we fold it?
Hold on, we'll fold it all at the end.
I was just gonna fold it so it like
You can if you want. Okay.
Is that
So they give you side F to E. Because this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle, what does that make side E to D? 8. Remember, 45, 45, 90, that makes these both the same. So E to D is 8. Yes.
The way, all right. So it's
the triangle angles has to be, you got it. Okay. So no matter what triangle I give you, if I give you 2 degrees of a triangle, you can always find that 3rd degree. Okay. So isosceles, that makes this 8 and 8. The hypotenuse then is a square root of 2 more than that. So 8 square roots of 2. And if you wanted the decimal, it would be what, Rebecca?
That is not what I got.
I mean, oh, crap, my
I got 11.
11?
11 point what? 3-1. Okay. Yes, Dan.
You're not slow, Rebecca.
You all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's scoot over to example 2. Uh-oh. This time they give us what? They give you the hypotenuse. Okay, so normally to go from a leg to the hypotenuse, we multiply by the square root of 2. So to go from the hypotenuse backwards, we divide. So to get your legs then, I divide this by the square root of 2. So Shelby just said that means that this and this cancel out, which means your side is 15. And if one leg's 15, the other leg is 15. It's always going to be like that. If it's a 45, 45, 90.
I didn't think it'd be that easy.
Are we gonna do one where the
Oh yeah, we're getting there. You think I'm going to leave it this easy? Come on now. All right. Example 3. They give us a leg. So what is C to B then? Or B to C? 7 square roots of 2. So now to get my hypotenuse, we multiply by the square root of 2. So here comes in those operations of radicals. Back to unit 3. We're skipping back 2 units. Uh-oh. All right. Right. Uh-oh. Okay. So remember, when we multiply the coefficients first. So what's the coefficient of this one? 7. What's the coefficient of this one? 1. Remember, there's an unwritten 1 there. So that becomes 7. Then we keep your square root and multiply your radians. So that becomes 4. Okay? So 7 square roots of 4. Well, I can simplify the square root of 4. That's 2. So that makes it 7 times 2, which is 14. So sometimes you are going to have to go a little bit farther. Okay.
I just typed it in my calculator.
Yeah, if you do it, it comes out at like
And it just said
13.9.
14. No, I got 14.
Oh, I did.
Okay. The problem is though, it's not always going to come out pretty. And if it comes out to be a decimal and all of your answers are in square roots,
That's
what you going to do?
What you gonna solve?
Actually, test taking skills. If you come out to have a decimal and all your answers are in square roots, how do you fix that problem?
Am I supposed to know?
What can you do with all your answer choices?
Plug it in.
Just plug them in and get your decimals. Okay? Remember, test taking skills as well. So while you need to know the math and the steps to get it, you've got to remember those test taking skills that will help you. All right? Example number 4. What do they give us? Hypotenuse. So to get to my legs, I need to do what? Divide by the square root of 2. So 22. No, you're not dividing by 2.
No, I'm talking about like before.
No. No. No.
I'm sorry.
Give it a second. Okay? I need to divide by the square root of 2.
It's like 15 or so.
Can I leave my answer like this?
No.
We've got to. What can I never have in the bottom?
Square
root.
My bad.
We can't keep that square root. So we need to rationalize the denominator. So let's take it back. When I do that, that means I need to multiply both the top and the bottom by the root in the bottom. So this comes out to be 22 square roots of 2 over the square root of 4. And what's the square root of 4? 2. So yes, Rebecca, now I can bring that down to 11 because 22 over 2 reduces down to 11 square roots of 2. That's your answer. So you have to be careful and rationalize your denominator. Okay, 5 and 6 are on the other side of this. I want you to try those on your own. Oh no!
It's longer than like the last one.
I don't like this.
Oh.
I really don't like this. It's easy. Not really. Yeah, I think I know it.
Genius. You guys may see in some way. Oh. Yes, good. Because then that can't be reduced. Yes. So to go from a leg to a hypotenuse, what operation do you use? Multiply. You're going from small to big. So you take this and multiply by the square root of 2, which becomes the square root of, which is. Oh,
This
genius! She didn't use decimals. What are you gonna do on your quiz when I tell you you've got to leave it in square root? He's gonna lay his head on the desk and go, help me. Okay, so how did you get 9.19?
Yeah, so it's FU is.
No, because I was like waiting for somebody to say
Okay, so instead of doing that with calculus, write that on the head.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not in this show. That's just irresponsible.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, so I got the square root of 2 in it.
Actually, Rebecca's done. Rebecca, why don't you get up and answer any questions? Oh.
Rebecca, come here.
And if you find somebody else that's correct, they can get up and help you too.
Rebecca.
Yeah. See?
yes.
You may not like it, but you can do it.
I did?
Yes, but leave that as a fraction.
How did you?
So that would be 13.
They don't Rebecca, she's more.
That works. Just leave that as 13. That's completely correct.
Alright, what's the other one?
What is this? What is this? Terms you're trying to find.
So then is it just 13?
It means the same thing. My bad.
Just square root of 2.
So that's right. Did you get
And
that?
so you got here, just to.
Exactly.
Okay, Rebecca, are these right?
Were you at the same point? You had 6.5.
Okay, so 6.5.
Leave it like that.
Just leave it as the fraction. Leave it as 13 over 2.
Yo.
So do the 13 square root of 2 over 2.
So the
Candy cane.
That would be
More candy. Both kids.
square root of 2. Instead of making it that decimal of 6.5, just leave it as 13 over 2.
You leave it over 2?
Yes.
How we get stuck where you can't open your mouth and nothing.
Anybody not been checked that need me to come around?
Just make sure these are right.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you like I told them. This is fine. Just leave this instead of making it a decimal. Just leave it as 13 over 2.
Do you want me to help you?
They're the same. They're the same.
So in 5, what do they give you? So that's a leg. So what's your other leg then? Remember, it's an isosceles triangle. So if one of your legs is the square root of 2, what's your other leg? Square root of 2. So FGU is the square root of 2. Okay. So to go from the smaller side to the bigger side, we multiply. So that's the square root of 2 becomes the square root of 2. And the square root of 4 is? Look at you. Okay. Just kick that down.
Actually, no, I do. I have 2 children. So they're shorter than you are. Wow.
All right, guys, let me go over this real fast to make sure everybody's got the right answer. We'll glue this in, and I'll give you your homework for tonight. Okay, so they give you a leg, which means your other leg is square root of 2. To go from leg to hypotenuse, I multiply by the square root of 2. So when I multiply square root of 2 times square root of 2, I get square root of 4, which is 2. Okay. Down at the bottom, they give you the hypotenuse. So to get my legs, I need to divide by the square root of 2. I then need to rationalize your denominator. So you get 13 square roots of 2 over the square root of 4, which becomes 13 square roots of 2 over 2. Can you reduce 13 over 2?
Not without getting a
It becomes, listen, it becomes a decimal, so you leave it. Okay? So 13 square roots of 2 over 2. Okay.
So that's how we do that?
Yes, just leave it just like that.
Okay, cool.
So, to fold this, okay, when it's open up and you can read it, fold left to the right. So 5 and 6 are facing you. Fold top to the bottom. And this glues in on the next page, which I believe is 125. Okay.
Wow, this